Hello, my darlings, and welcome to the first episode of my brand new podcast, DianeXMarieX Girls Gone Mild. It's catchy, huh? Now, why did I name my podcast that? Well, there's only one special person I have to thank for that. Robert Jokey. You may also know her as Starlet O'Hara. She's always been calling me that ever since I started performing in drag on stage. As she would always say it, the star of Girls Gone Mild, Miss DianeXMarie. Now, I'm obviously not her, but I try my best. Anyways, before we begin, I wanted to tell you what this first episode is going to be about. Basically, I am going to explain how my podcast is going to work from here on in. And then I will be explaining how, in my theater career, why am I hanging up after doing 12 years of work for it. That's all going to come up pretty soon. So this first episode is just going to explain what I want to do for my podcast in the future. Basically, there'll be times that I'll be just doing it by myself and just explaining some stuff, maybe talking about what you guys want to talk about in theater, in film, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm here, and I'll give you my opinion about it. This is basically uncut, uncensored. My opinion, and in the end, it doesn't really matter, but I will speak my opinion about the certain situation. You can agree with me, you don't have to agree with me. I do not judge anybody at all. So when I do have a special guest on my podcast, I would love to answer the hard questions. Anything I ask them, they have to be truthful. But if there are some questions that they do not want me to ask, they need to let me know ahead of time before I get them on the podcast. That way, it won't be cringy or uncomfortable between the interview. I don't want to do that. I want to make my special guest comfortable as possible and just have fun with it. This is all about fun. This is all about knowing stuff that nobody else knows. But like I said, I want them to be as comfortable as possible. I don't want them to feel that it's not safe here. I want them to feel happy in the end. But that's how it's basically going to be in my podcast. Anything goes. No holds barred. So hopefully maybe in a month or so we can get somebody on here that's Ohio famous. Or maybe I'll get someone from California to come on this podcast. I don't know. I'm just trying my best. This is my first time doing it, so hopefully it works out pretty well. Now, I'll talk about what I want to do for episode 2, which I want to basically record that in the next 2 weeks. After this episode's over, you guys can basically email me or message me questions that you want me to answer, and I will answer them truthfully, and I will pick the best ones as well. So, you can either email me at martindaniels.actor@gmail.com. Or, if you're friends with me on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, whatever you do, you can message me that way. Just give me the questions you want me to answer, and I will answer them truthfully. I will be picking the best ones as well. Now, with that being said, let's get this episode started. Before I go into the big question, because I have been getting a lot of messages, emails, basically the whole 9 yards, as to why after 12 years am I finally deciding to hang up my theater stage boots? Well, let's start off with what got me to this point. Because, I always wanted to do it ever since I was a little kid. And the one movie that got me to start thinking about it, inspiring about it, and imagining about it was the movie Grease. Grease, yes. Grease was one of my favorite musicals of all time when I was a little kid. Just seeing them dancing and singing, just the way it just blew my mind as a kid. I just loved that John Travolta was the cool guy, and then Sandy was the innocent, or Olivia Newton-John. That's her name, right? Olivia Newton-John was just the beautiful but the innocent young girl. I just loved the story. Obviously, at the time, as a kid, I didn't know what the hell they were talking about until I got older and realized, oh, this song's about sex. This song's about this, and this song's about that. You know? But yeah, that movie really did inspire me to pursue my acting career. Now, why didn't I start at a young age? Well, that's a hard question to answer, but it's basically because my family back then didn't think it was a good career path. That it was just a waste of time. And it didn't help at that time that I had my learning disability. Or when we found out that I had my learning disability. And I can't remember the name of what my learning disability is, but at the time I was having trouble reading big words, and my reading level was slow. Very slow. And I was put into RSP classes for my whole entire school years, up until my senior year of high school. And it was hard. It was hard for me to want to do something in life, but not having this support. But then I ended up doing my acting career, or started my acting career, when I got into high school. You know, I started taking theater classes my freshman year, and then I didn't start actually performing until my junior year of high school. And after doing, like, the first few couple shows, I started getting into it more. I started wanting to get better, and better, and better, until I felt comfortable that, you know, in my mind, that I am one of the best actors in the world. Not like, I'm not going to say like, oh, I'm better than this guy or better than that guy. I don't work like that. But I wanted to believe that I can do this. And it took a lot of hard work to make me believe that. And because of that, it did end up making some of my family members supporting the dream. As far as I'm concerned, when I went to college, it was hard. Because you always will have those kind of directors or those kind of producers or whatever having their favorites. And personally, I was not one of them. Because I had a mind that I needed to believe in something. Which, what I mean is, basically, I had a right to my opinion that it's not fair to use the same people over and over and over again in casting shows when there's other people who are learning to get better not getting casted. And what I mean by that is, basically, here I am working my ass off to get better in my craft, and then you have one of the directors there telling you, oh my god, you were like the best one out there. And you made me cry, in her words. And before I continue this story, this is not a shoot interview. I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus. I'm not here to call anyone out. I'm just basically telling you how my experience is as an actor, which I'm pretty sure is similar to some actors out there who went through the same thing or are going through the same thing. It happens all the time. Whether you live in California or whether you live in Ohio, anywhere in the world, it happens all the time. Anyway, it's not right for somebody to tell you that you're one of the best actors out there and then not casting you for the whole 3 years you've been at their theater program. That makes you feel worthless. That makes you feel like you're not good enough. And it would have been better if they said, hey, I thought you were good, but that was not the right monologue to audition with. Or something like that. Explain yourself. Better be honest than lie to them. At the end of the day, there have been a couple times that I wanted to stop. Because people made me feel like I wasn't good enough. That I was never going to go anywhere. But I still kept trying. Still kept trying. And still kept trying. And I'm not going to tell you like my whole experience. Because that will take about 2 days. And this episode should not be worth about 2 days. I wanted to at least get this out of the way. Explain. Go into detail as to what has lead up to this point in time. It's just crazy how the theater world is. Back then, how it is now, mind-boggling. But I will say this, I did not get as much work as an actor out in California than I do get as much work in Ohio. All my shows from California and Ohio combined, I have pretty much have done over 200 shows. And that's crazy. 12 years. It's just only seems like yesterday I was playing Romeo in a parody of Romeo and Juliet. Crazy. Now, some of you may be asking another question before I get to the big one. And that is probably, why did I start doing drag? Why did I become a drag queen? Why, last year, before we went into quarantine of COVID, why did I become Diane Marie? Well, here's the thing. I've always wanted to do it. I always wanted to do it probably since I was 17 years old. That does not mean I'm gay. There's nothing wrong with a straight guy or a straight girl that wants to become a drag queen or a drag king. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I don't see anything wrong with that. Obviously, people in this world are going to see something wrong with that. Because they always say, oh, if you're a drag queen, that means you're gay. Not true. Not true at all. But I always wanted to do it. And now I am. And my biggest idol for that is my uncle. And his drag queen name is Marina Mack. And she is one of the biggest drag queens in Palm Springs, California. She is my inspiration to get better at this every single day. And that is one of the reasons why I do my drag almost every single day. To get better and to make you guys laugh, inspire you, do whatever it takes. I want to inspire you guys to go after your dreams. Do what you want to do for a living. Be happy. Encourage you to never give up. That's one of the things I love doing as a drag queen. Not only to make you guys happy, but it also makes me happy. Which, by the way, and this is not necessary at all, if you guys love what I do for a living, you are more welcome to send me tips at my Cashapp at DianeXMarieX. Now, the tips are not necessary, they are appreciated. But that's up to you guys. I hold no grudges if you guys don't do that at all. But I always say that you guys are more than welcome to send me tips at any time, at any place. But that is one of the reasons why I became a drag queen. Just to inspire you guys in the end. But it also makes me happy. It just makes me happy in general. If you would like to get mentioned on my podcast, whether it's theater, a restaurant, anything at all, just email me at martindaniels.actor@gmail.com. The price will be $10 to get featured. Thank you. Now back to the episode. And technically, drag is a part of acting. I believe it is. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving up on acting. I'm just not really interested in doing theater anymore. But now let's get to it. Let's get to the big question of why, after 12 years, after over 200 shows, after the tap, after the blood, after the broken bones, everything that you put your sweat and blood into, why all of a sudden am I hanging it up of my theater career? Well, I could think of only 3 reasons why. Reason number 1. The last show I did, went through the rehearsal process and actually did the actual show, was last year. Oh, this was tough for me. Last year I did a parody musical called Living Dead. It's basically a parody of Night of the Living Dead. And it's an original musical from the Rust Belt Theater Company in Youngstown, Ohio, owned by Robert Joki, which is also Starla O'Hara. What happened was, there was one night in rehearsal that we were doing a number, and let me just say this right now, it was nobody's fault. This was my own fault. We were doing one of the numbers, and it was the end of the song. Me, being the guy who was dedicated to everything, went too hard and landed wrong. What happened is that I was basically pretending to choke or shake. In a way, shake. Let's go with shake. I was shaking one of the main characters, because I'm basically dead at this point. I'm a zombie. I was shaking one of the main characters, and it's bad enough the thing that he was sitting on had wheels. That, like I said, this was my fault. I went too hard. I went too dedicated, and I landed wrong. I landed on my right knee, which caused my knee to dislocate. And that had to be the worst pain I have ever been in my entire life. I was in so much pain, and it was bad enough I did it in front of everybody. The director, the cast, everybody. And it freaked everybody out. The last thing I wanted to do was go to the hospital. Just even thinking about it just makes my knee hurt. And it's funny because I'm just expressing this now because there are some of you guys who know about this and some of you who don't. And I feel like it was time for me to tell everybody what exactly happened. One of the reasons why I've kind of lost my passion for the theater. I hurt myself to a point where I felt like it was just too much dedication to cause my knee to burst. But thank God it was put back in place. Nobody put it back in place. It just went back in place itself. But everyone in the cast was freaking out. They were about to call an ambulance. That was the last thing I wanted to do was go to the hospital. It hurt for the next couple days. I had to miss work the next day. And because of that, it really changed me. It really changed me in a way where I felt like, because I mean, like, this is not the only injury that's happened in my entire theater career, but I just felt like because of that, it really scared me. And now it's just like, after that night, I always said to myself, like, that's it. I'm gonna be wearing knee pads for the rest, for the rest of my career in theater. And it's just, it really scared me. And it's really hard to talk about it. Whew. But yeah, that really kind of shocked me in the end, and I really just don't know how to explain it more. But I'm fine. I'm fine now. My knees all healed up, and I'm walking perfectly fine. I can still do whatever I need to do. But it's just, that was one of that kind of things like, oh, what if it happens again? Well, I'll have the knee pads. But, you know, at the end, I want to do other things in the end, and I don't want it to make it worse.
Before we continue my rambling, I just want to say if you're looking for a place to see original shows, original musicals, anything at all, go to the Rust Belt Theater Company in Youngstown, Ohio, where Robert Jokey will put on anything, a musical, a play, a parody of a musical, anything that will make you laugh, scream, cry. I consider this my home, my theater home, my family, and I would not change that for the world. Now back to my rambling.
Uh, Reason number two. Doing this for 12 years, and I don't regret any of it. I have put a lot of dedication into it, and there are times that I had to miss a couple things for it. And there's just some nights that I'm just tired, that I can't do this anymore. I It's just, I work full time at my job at Macy's in Boardman in Southern Park, and basically, and it's also hard too that I don't have a car. My thing is how if I had to go through a schedule of how things work, with work, rehearsal, that is like, okay, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, take the bus, takes me a good hour and a half to get to work until like 4:30, get on the bus, be home at 6, maybe get an hour or a half an hour to myself, but then I have to go straight back out to rehearsal. And then maybe after rehearsal's over, come home and maybe like get 4 or 3 hours of sleep. At first, I was okay with that because I was so dedicated, but now as I'm getting older, and I'm only 28 years old, but now as I'm getting older, I don't know how much I can do that anymore, to be honest. And I know some of you are gonna be like, "Oh, come on, you're 28 years old. You can still do it." Like, yeah, I could, but there are times that I just want sleep, and there are times that I just want to enjoy my night. And since drag is now one of my new passions, I want to spend more time on that as well. Because I really feel like, in the end, drag is what makes me happy now. Just, drag makes me feel comfortable with myself. It doesn't make me feel insecure about how I look or what I look. It makes me feel free in the end. But I would love to share that with somebody. You know, I would love to share that with my future girlfriend, whoever she is. But I just want more free time. And drag helps me get through some days. That's why I post all the funny videos I do on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, on YouTube. It gets me through the hard times, but it also gets you guys through the hard times as well. And in the end, I still want to do the acting, but it's leading more towards filming. And because, I would love to start filming stuff. Maybe small little snippets of drag, with Diane's something, I don't know. But I also would like to film some scripts I wrote in the future. Hopefully we can get that up and running. I don't know. Basically, I'm just tired. I put in a lot of effort into it, and I just want to finally go somewhere else and be happy. And I feel like drag is definitely one of those things. And I'm not going to say filming will be like that as well, because, I enjoy filming movies. I mean, I did a movie with Jason Momoa, for crying out loud. But, yeah, I think that's how it's going to be.
Do you have a talent that you want to show to the world? Well, you can do that at Club Switch. They always have open stage night on the first Friday of each month. You can sing, you can dance, you can tell jokes. Hell, you can even show us how to burlesque. Hell, why don't you just striptease for us? You can do anything to show off your ability. You don't have to necessarily do drag. You can do anything that your heart desires. Go to open stage night at Club Switch. Remember, it's the first Friday of each month. Hosted by Starlet O'Hara herself. Oh, such a beauty. Now, back to the episode.
Now, this third reason, I don't know how it's gonna be like, or what it's gonna be, meaning how people are gonna take it. But I'm just tired of the theater politics. I am. I've gotten that so much back in California. I've always been told that, that basically I have a good voice, but because the way you look, you're not going to get this part. So we're going to give it to this guy. But it's not just me, it's just people, there's other people out there as well who go through the same thing. And there are some theaters out here in Ohio too that are like that. Not as harsh as the ones in California. But I'm just tired of the politics. I'm tired of basically them telling you that, we're not going to give you this part because you're not that good enough. There may be some people, now, I mean, maybe I'm a little straightforward, but there may be some people who do audition that aren't good enough, but the people who are, give them a chance. That's all I'm going to say. But this is just my perspective. This is how I see it. It's just ridiculous. And I just can't really put up with it anymore. I always strongly believe that everyone deserves a chance if they're doing this and wanting to do this for a career. Now, one of my pet peeves about this that I always have an issue with is people who do audition and then complain at rehearsal that they don't want to be there. Not only are you being an ass, but you could have let someone else take your part. Why be there if you're not going to put the commitment into it? I mean, that's my biggest pet peeve. Why be in a show if you're not really into this? It was like that in college. It was like that in high school. But I'm not gonna be hard on high school because high school is high school. You do things that you don't normally do, and then you just go on doing what you originally do. College, I will put that on because there are a lot of guys who are really want to do this as a career. And there are some who don't want to do it as a career, and those are the ones who don't want to do it for a career, they end up getting the good parts. But, like I said, that's just me. That's just me. But it's just basically the same thing in the theater world. But I digress. It is what it is. I have my opinions about it, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But I will say this. I won't include any of the theaters back in California because I've only worked with them once, maybe twice. But out of all the theaters in Ohio, there are only 2 theaters that I truly trust and would always work with them in the future if I ever come back. And that is the Rust Belt Theater Company in Youngstown, Ohio, and Salem Community Theater in Salem, Ohio. Those are the 2 theaters I trust in the end. And without them, I feel like I wouldn't be here where I am today. I feel like, after doing their shows, it led me to becoming a drag queen. And I think both of those theaters personally, and they hold a special place in my heart, and I will never forget that. As far as my last show, I don't know. I haven't heard anything from Salem Community Theater of what they're going to do. As far as I'm concerned, it's a possibility that my last show is going to be with the Rust Belt Theater Company doing Living Dead for the 3rd year in a row. And I want to audition, and I'm going to audition. I would love to break the record of playing one of the characters 3 years in a row. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I really hope I get to play this character once more. This has been a hell of a ride. And I just want to go out with a bang. And there are a couple people who I want to thank before ending this episode. First off, I want to thank John Price, who got me to love film even more. I have done 3 of his film projects over the past 3 years. Funny story about that, how I got my first gig with him in his first film was that he saw me in Wizard of Oz playing Tin Man. I guess that was my audition to get casted as the main character as a drug dealer. I don't know how that happened, but I don't regret being in the film. Him and I both agreed that we wish we could have done it in a different way, but it happens. I'm still proud of it. But I think he became a great director in the end for it. So, John, thank you so much. I appreciate you, man. And I can't wait to do more projects with you. There's another guy who I want to thank, and this guy has been my best friend for, Jesus, it's gonna be 10 years next year. I'm getting old. But him and I did go to college together. We met in a directing class back in college, and he has been my best friend ever since.
he also wanted to be an actor, and I think he's still one of the funniest guys I've ever met. I think he's a great actor. But he also is turning away that dream to become, I would we say a lawyer? Because he isn't. He's studying criminal justice, and I hope he becomes a great lawyer in the end. And he also works at Disneyland, so that does not mean I'm going to get everybody a free pass. That's not what's happening here. But I just wanted to say I love you, man. Ryan Joshua Lyle. I hope I get to see you in the future. I hope I get to come back to California to visit you, man. I love you. Well, obviously, I mentioned Robert Joki. I love him. Starla O'Hara. She is also an inspiration to my drag. I just want to say thank you for letting me perform with you. You were definitely an inspiration, and I look forward to being back on you. Let me word that again. I enjoy the time I have with you on stage, and I am looking forward to the future performances we have together in the future. I will also like to thank my mom for being very supportive. I know, like, there are times that her and I will get at each other back in the day, but her and I have a good relationship now, and in the end, I just want her to be happy as she wants me to be happy. I love you, Mom. And there's always and then this next person. This next person was always my biggest supporter. He may have not liked me doing the acting, but he supported it all the way. He came to every single show back in California, and I wish he would have saw me perform in Ohio, but it was never meant to be. But, I always say he was gone too soon, and I just personally would like to thank my biggest supporter, and that's my father, who is watching me down from heaven. I love you so much, Dad, and I hope I'll see you in the future. But with that being said, yeah, I answered the big question. So I hope when I do finally figure out what I'm going to do for my last show, that you guys will join me for the one last ride. And I hope it's going to be a good one. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I love you all.